At the start of the trailer, Chris is focused on getting the counselors safely away from camp before sundown. Why is that so important? Clearly he's a monster, or at least knows that there are monsters around. The initial plan is to drive them all out in his van. They need this big of a van because there's 7 people and they all have luggage. It seems like Jacob was going to drive the van out with everyone inside, and then Chris or someone else would pick it up at some point afterwards. He clearly needs to be alone, for werewolf reasons, or possibly something even more sinister. We can assume that the van didn't work when Jacob tried it, then we get a shot of Chris freaking out at the idea that they won't be able to leave before sunset. Now, assuming that the vehicle had in fact been checked earlier, that means that the bus was sabotaged at some point before they were planning to leave, which raises the question, who did it and why? First, let's establish why the van is so important, especially when Chris has another vehicle ready to go. While his car could easily seat 5, there are 7 counselors and all of them have luggage to bring, which means that even if he drove some people out, a few would be left behind, which, given the apparent threat, would be even more dangerous than leaving everyone here together. Safety in numbers, after all. Perhaps you could squeeze all 7 counselors into the car with Chris, but then he'd have to explain why they need to leave all of their possessions behind until the next day. And considering that he's either a werewolf type thing or covering up the existence of one, he wants as few questions as possible. Now, the big question. Was the van sabotaged, or does it just not work? The van not working is the incident that kicks off the main plot of the game. And while that could be a complete coincidence, that's deeply dramatically unsatisfying. So we can assume that's not the case, since why would you throw away an easy chance for a free dramatic twist? This means that the van must have been sabotaged. So who did it? I see 3 big possibilities. First, villains. Either the Killbillies or Travis and Chris. Either because they want people to kill, or because during the past month they think that one or more of the counselors saw something, and now have a piece of information they can't risk getting out. Like, the corpse in the lake. So they break the van, wait for the kids to leave, and plan on getting rid of the teens that night. After all, we've already seen the extreme lengths Travis will go to in order to keep the area's secrets. Maybe this is just the next step of that kind of a plan. That said, this one is a bit of a stretch, since the villains couldn't be completely sure that all of the counselors wouldn't pile into the smaller vehicle and head out. Moreover, if the goal is to keep the secret of an area and not have people looking more closely into it, making 7 more people mysteriously disappear or have their brutally murdered corpses lying around isn't going to do that great of a job of bringing less attention to the area. It seems more likely that them getting stuck at the camp isn't going to be caused by the villains, but rather exploited by them in one way or another. The second possibility is that all the counselors are in on it for the most innocent reason possible. They wanted to have a big party after the kids left. The counselors are obviously friendly with one another, and getting away with something will always make a party that much more entertaining. So maybe everyone brainstormed a way to ensure that they had another night at camp, and the minute that Chris drives away, they're all psyched that they pulled it off. This one has a decent chance of happening, since it plays into the 80s stereotype kids love to party slasher movie setup that the game is so heavily leaning into. I could see this one happening pretty easily. The third option is that someone did it for a personal reason, and it might be a secret for the audience until late in the proceedings exactly who that was. This has the chance to be the most dramatically satisfying of the 3 options, since it reflects a deeper personal motivation than kids sure love to party. There's 2 romances already established in the material we've seen, and since both are tenuous, either one could lead a person to pull a trick to get a night alone without any responsibilities. Based on their bios, it seems like this could point to either Jacob or Abigail. The clip of Jacob getting dumped or not by Emma after it's already dark could suggest that Jacob disabled the van to get one more night with Emma in the hopes of cementing their relationship, and that scene shows us how his plans play out, but then his actions wind up getting him kidnapped by Killbillies, and he would end up paying a heavy price for this trick. Abigail is just as likely a culprit if this theory is accurate, though. Her bio focuses on her fixation on a summer romance, and this is the last night where that could happen. Assuming the sketching and bore scenes happen before the characters know they're stranded, it's possible that this bonding scene creates a moment of connection, and that would convince Abigail that she has a chance with Nick, and that leads her to do something crazy to try and get that chance. Overall, I think Abigail being responsible would be the most dramatically satisfying explanation, for the van being disabled? If they're trying to upend expectations with their reveals, then taking Abigail, who serves as the most likely classic slasher movie heroine, the shy, retiring woman who has to find the strength to defeat the monster and save herself. Alice, the main girl from the original Friday the 13th, always carried a sketchbook, just like Abigail. And if you then made it so she's unwittingly responsible for all of the horror, that would be a hell of a twist. It could also create opportunities for great dramatic tension if one of the characters knows that it's their fault and is tormented by whether or not to reveal that information. Likewise, it would be nice if one character knew that they had the ability to repair the van and escape at any point, and was forced to make the tough decision of whether to just repair the van and flee, or try to round up the rest of the counselors so they can all escape together. Plot point wise, you don't get a much better impossible choice than that. Now, obviously we won't be able to say anything for sure until we learn more about what's going on in the game, but having Abigail or Jacob accidentally trigger the rest of the game's horror seems like it would be an incredibly interesting plot thread. I've been the Hidden Object Guru. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe. Special thanks go out to my patrons, Desire, Marissa, Eduardo, Brian, and Joanne. You can always find me at my live streams, weeknights at 9 Eastern and weekends at noon. We'll see you back here for more Supermassive Games content. But until then, au revoir.